Okay, before I get into telling you and showing you about this dumbest guy I've ever met, I can't get over it, how dumb he is. So I wanted to give you a little bit of an update on what's going on after that big storm that we had, the big flooding rain. As you know, the well got dirty, and yesterday's video, I think it was yesterday's video, I said I'm going to buy some sandbags, lay them down here. Well, I thought I was going to flush it out today, but it turned out that it kind of settled down, which can happen. That dirt in there just kind of settles to the bottom of the well. So it was clean enough that my filters, my house filters, was able to clean it up enough that I think we can use it. So this is the water color now. It's a little bit dingy, but not terrible. So that means the Berkey will have to do a little bit of extra work. I don't like stressing the Berkey out. Those filters are expensive, so I do my very best. Of course, you can see the tarp flapping down there. That was tore up by the storm. But more importantly, the solar panels. I showed you that we turned all the solar panels over. So if the hail came, I put metal on top of them. And that way, if the hail came, it would protect the solar panels. Well, somehow or another, two of the solar panels became disconnected. One, a wire was actually cut. I don't know how. I mean, I just flipped them over and flipped them back. I don't know how that happened. The other one, it was just a loose screw, which those rich solar panels, I absolutely love those rich solar panels. But the connections on them are absolutely terrible. So I'm gonna go buy myself another screw now that I've identified another one that has it's like it's stripped out before it was ever sold to us. So I was telling you, that the dumbest guy I ever met. So let me give you a little bit of a backstory. Let's set you on the bridge here. Okay, this camera, I'm not really sure. See, it's got a picture, I can see myself in it, but it's narrower than what the actual footage is. So it's hard for me to determine what's the best angle, but hopefully you can see a few items here. You can see the propane tank. Maybe you can see the blowtorch, the buddy heater. I mean, you don't really need to see these that much, but hopefully you can see what I've got going here. And then there's a propane hose that goes into the tank and the buddy heater. So when I was a nomad, I started hearing people say that you can refill 1 pound propane tanks. And they always thought this was just the greatest idea in the world. And I never understood why I wanted to refill them or even buy them in the first place. They're terribly expensive. And during a pandemic, they're not even available. I tried to buy two of them during the pandemic because I needed to work on, well, we were going to install that well. And everybody was sold out. I ended up having to get them on Amazon eventually, and they were like 10 times the price. They were terribly expensive. Now this is the same type of tank that you can find. They're green tanks also, and these green tanks can go into your buddy heater. Well, this one can too, but it hangs down a little bit longer. And so you can use these 1 pound tanks on this. So what we have here, we have a little filter. If you're going to use the 1 pound tanks, you take that filter off, and then I have this hose here, and this hose, like I said, goes into the propane tank, the 20 pound propane tank. Of course, I have my torch here. So they always told me that you could refill these, and they always told you, watch the videos, shows you how to do it. And so you watch the videos, and you got to buy all these components and hope that you get them right, and they're expensive, and you got to piece it all together. And you're turning your tank upside down. I don't know, it's ludicrous to me. And then this never gets full. It's only like half full once you do it, unless you dump cold water over it for like 45 minutes. Well, when you're a nomad, you can't afford cold water. You just can't waste water. And I don't want to waste water here, so I always thought this was a ridiculous idea. I mean, I absolutely hate these things, but I see the benefit of having a torch. Now, I use this primarily to light the wood stove. And I did buy them. I mean, I spoiled myself, went ahead and bought it the last 2 years. But I'm tired of buying these things. They're expensive. Now, I can fill one of these 20-pound tanks up for 12 bucks. So that's basically what, 4.5 or 4 of these, something like that, full for $12. Whereas you could probably spend, I don't know, maybe $5 a piece for these or something. They're pretty expensive. So I'm just not going to buy them anymore. So that means, well, obviously, we're going to refill it. Well, I don't know why I'd want to do that. That's just a terrible, dumb idea. Now, I have a buddy heater. I also have a Coleman camp stove. I have a generator. I'm trying to think what else I might have. I guess I have 2 Coleman camp stoves. And I got all kinds of hoses that hooks up these Coleman camp stoves and the buddy heater to a propane tank. So I never really even understood it when we were nomads why I needed this, because as a nomad this tank did everything we needed. It can run your generator. Well, I didn't have a propane generator back then, but it can run your generator, just hook the hose up. It can run your Coleman camp stove, just hook the hose up. It can run your buddy heater, just hook the hose up. And it really isn't that hard. Some hoses, these have 2 different types of threads. You have a thread that goes in the hole, and then you have a thread that goes outside the, like typical. Well, some of these hoses go inside and some of these hoses go on the outside. It really doesn't make any difference. The only thing you got to remember is if you're going to use the inside thread, it turns backwards. So instead of righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, you have to go the opposite direction. And since I'm working backwards, it's hard for me to figure out which way to go. Okay, so yeah, so I'm going backwards. Now, one of the problems with these tanks is this turn knob doesn't always work the best. There are all kinds of safety features in these tanks. So one of the features obviously is the knob itself, the shutoff knob. It has a vent on it, so the trolls on the Nomad channels, the trolls love to say that these things will blow up during a fire. Where was the explosion from the propane tanks? Every time there's a camper fire, they have vents on them. I had a camper fire, I had 2 of them in my camper, and it just spews out. So there's vents on them, overpressurization vents. You know, they're pretty safe. They got all kinds of safety valves. And then inside the hose itself has all kinds of safety mechanisms. Little check valve, so propane can go in one direction and not the other. So I'm going to hold this up. Not really going to be able to explain it very well, but inside there you might see there's a check valve. So that means propane can go in but can't go back out. And then there's another one on the other end of the hose where, again, I don't know, you might be able to see it in there. There's a check valve, so propane can go in one direction. Those things can be a pain in the hindsight sometimes, because when you turn this on, you have to go really slow. That way it doesn't jam up the valves inside the hose. And if you do jam them up, which I do all the time, I just unscrew it from the tank, let it vent off, and try again. You do that a couple times, you'll get it. So I got to figure out how I can use a torch from my wood stove without a canister, because I think it's a really dumb idea to fill it up. I think it's just a really dumb idea. Not even sure why I would want to do it unless there was absolutely no other options. And since every off-gridder, every nomad probably has this hose, if you have a Coleman camp stove, and you do this for the way of life, you should have one of these hoses. And if not, you can go to Tractor Supply or Orscheln's or probably even Lowe's, and picked these up relatively cheap, maybe $20 or $30. And if you had a buddy heater, I think one comes with it, and you have to buy the filter. The reason you gotta buy the filter is these tanks, the propane can be a little bit dirty in it, and over time it will chew up your buddy heater. Now, it's my understanding that the filter doesn't work for very long, so you may chew up your buddy heater anyways. I've never had that problem. So I'm going to hook this hose up to the tank here, and I'm going to do something absolutely incredible, where I know everybody in the world is going to think that I need to check myself into a mental institution, but I think this is probably a safer and an easier way than filling up these stupid cans. Everybody talks about how safe this is, but then says I'm the idiot for doing it this way. So this is empty. You might be able to hear a little bit. I don't know if I can get it. No, I'm not going to be able to get it to light, especially in this wind. So what am I going to do? I'm going to take this off. Now, I always shoot these after I'm done with them. Throw them out in the yard, shoot them. Oh, they're going to blow up. No, I only use lead. Lead doesn't spark. Copper will, but I use lead bullets. My 22 CCI, only lead. So I shoot these, you put a hole in it, that way it can't ever explode. Of course, again, there is a vent in it. If it ever gets too hot, it's going to vent off. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this, I'm going to screw it right here. And it is just that simple. Instead of going out and buying all kinds of components that you don't really need, it's a one-use item, why not use the stuff you already had? So last night, I ran out of propane in this thing. So I went down to the camper, grabbed the buddy heater, took the hose off, and I turned it on. Now, again, you really got to open this knob real slow. Okay, I got noise. And now I have a torch. And I got 4 pounds. I got 4 of these in here. And for probably a fraction of the cost. Well, I say fraction, probably half of the cost. And I got a torch. I think really people make things out to be way too complicated. My philosophy in life is keep it simple, silly. KISS. Keep it simple. They actually say stupid. Keep it simple, silly. I don't understand why everybody wants to spend a boatload of money to do everything. Every time I show something, every time I do something, somebody's got a way to spend money. I don't even understand that. The well, spend money. The IBC tank, spend money. They want me to build a 69-foot tower to put my IBC tank on. Why? I have a pump that pumps water into the house, and the pump costs 20 bucks. This hose, I have to have anyways. I have to have it because we have a buddy heater. And the best way to run the buddy heater is with the hose. Now, you can use these on the buddy heater, but why would you want to? Okay, so it's cold outside one night. You want to run the buddy heater and you have it on high. I forget how much you use, but I bet you could run out of propane. I think you can, like 8 hours, 4 hours, something like that. The propane will run out of this if you're running the buddy heater on high. But you can run this for 2 or 3 days. So why buy these? They're way too expensive. And then you gotta go buy all the components, and then when you refill it half full unless you want to use a ton of cold water. I don't know how that works. I think what it is you want to cool the can down and expand it. I don't remember. And the thing is you got to remember the darn process. It's just too much. Keep it simple. Life does not have to be hard. And I don't know how to teach this. You know, people talk about common sense isn't so common anymore. Okay, that's great. Then why is people telling me to spend all kinds of money? Use some common sense. So if you'll click this up next box, it'll take you to a video where I was talking about probably the well. So if I can inspire you to keep it simple, silly, so you live your dreams. Thanks for watching.